Did it work? All right, I think we're good. Because before it was just a black screen. All right. Ah, man, after all these tries. All right, sorry guys. I know I said two. I'm an hour late, but to be honest, I wasn't even gonna go live, but I am not sleeping, and Amanda's sleeping like a baby. Um, Tomorrow's a big day. Those of you who know, tomorrow's gonna be a big day. So, I should be sleeping, but I can't sleep. And there's some breaking news. There's also all that news I wanted to get to yesterday. I got a new laptop. So, I was going to dedicate the show to Kelly Kibo, but I'm going to dedicate the first show I used the laptop to Kelly Kibo because right now I still have to install everything, OBS, and I want to do everything right. And I've been trying to figure out how to maybe put this together along with what I got up here. Let me see. So, anyways, the breaking news coming in tonight, and it's been basically talked about all day, is that Turkey is going to be entering Syria, and you know, people are acting like they're going in there to go after ISIS. I mean, there is no ISIS left. That was like last year's news. Um, they're going in there, and the U.S. Trump said that they're gonna step aside. They're not gonna participate, obviously, but what more importantly, what they're not going to do is intervene. And I have mixed feelings about that personally because do we want to stay in these endless wars and just stay there just to protect the Kurdish? Maybe. I mean, I don't want to say no to that because, I mean, the Kurds did a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the fighting, and you know what? Um, People always say, "Well, why don't these people go and fight for their own country? Why do we have to go and fight for them? Why do American young kids, 18-year-old, gotta go fight for these grown men's country? Why don't they fight for their own country?" And guess what? These guys did. They did, and they fought, and their interests align with our interests. So I have mixed feelings about it. I'm never in favor of just hanging around in these countries as protection or police or whatever the situation may be. Like we tried to get out of Afghanistan, and it became immediately apparent that it's going to be very difficult. We either one have to increase the troops times 10, times 10, more than that, times 20 or something like that, in order to actually efficiently, wipe out the Taliban. But what we've been learning in the Middle East is that you can't kill radicalism or ideas. You can kill the people. We are pretty good at that. But then it's like, remember that game as a kid? The groundhogs pop up, you hit it, hit a mole or whatever, you hit it, and then another one pops up over here, you hit it, another one pops up, you hit it. I mean, is that what we're gonna keep doing? I mean, how many years has it been? But at the same time, I have mixed feelings about leaving these Kurds high and dry. Um, because they're going to be facing a military with a capability way beyond their own. Even if we arm them, and this has happened in the past, all that we're really doing is arming the people who end up defeating them, which, uh, inevitably ends up happening every time. They'll defeat them, capture the weapons, and now they have better weaponry. So it's a very difficult situation. Um, it's not an easy call, but what I do like about it is that it's decisive. He made a decision. Now there's going to be blowback from that decision. That you know he's trying his best to warn them nothing better happened to the Kurds, but at the same time he's saying we are not going to intervene in any way. And we know right now they are rolling in, and they are like establishing um, their front, getting all their military, getting all their gear together. Let's take a look. Can I turn this around? Yeah. So this is live, I believe. This is just live footage. They're just rolling right in. That's from Turkey into Syria. They have all their weaponry covered up, and it's just endless trailers like that. I mean, they are not going in there. I mean, basically, all the land that we had, we are leaving, and Turkey is moving right in our spot. I'm curious how you guys feel about this, because I have mixed emotions about it. So, I'm curious what some of you guys think. I mean, a lot of people are gonna, kind of bash Trump, but when last year when he was thinking about doing this, and then when he started to, all of a sudden this started happening, and not only did it start happening, but they were openly saying we're gonna go in there and we're gonna wipe these Kurds out. We're gonna kill them. We're gonna kill each and every one of them. So he didn't leave. And then there was a lot of pushback internationally, a lot of Kurdish supporters. They said, we fought, beside you guys for all these years. Are you going to just leave us hanging for Iran and Turkey? And those are some tough questions. And he decided not to leave them hanging. But it can only go so long. So that's just what's breaking like this moment. You know what I mean? Forget about what's going on in Hong Kong now that because and I wouldn't mind if they would use this rule on Antifa in Oregon and stuff like that. I remember actually in Worcester, Massachusetts. I remember a couple years ago, like when this is like when Antifa first started. It was like 2016 actually, because my daughter wasn't even born yet. So it was like 2016, and I don't even think Trump was president yet, but he had just been elected. So it must have been like November, because she was born in December. So yeah, it must have been right before she was born. So I was downtown, and there's this group of Antifa people marching down the street, and I happened to be downtown because there was like this veteran thing. Oh, it was Veterans Day. That's what it was. It was November, so it was Veterans Day. We're all downtown. They start coming down the street. They start yelling all kinds of like anti-military stuff at us. Now I didn't participate, but what they didn't know was these aren't just vets, but these were vets that like part of what I did is I ran groups and I would help them assimilate back into society. Um, and the reason they were going to these groups is because they were court mandated because each and every one of them had very serious criminal charges against them in the civilian world. And it was kind of, you get like a one chance and they'll overlook a non-violent crime. But then after that, you get treated just like anyone else. And yeah, so I mean, they came across veterans for one, And you don't want to do that, especially young and stuff. But they seem not to mind. There was a lot of them. They went to Clark University, but these are like your criminal element veterans, and not like your 60, 70-year old criminal element veteran. No, I'm talking like just got back, like was in war, having trouble, did something stupid, got on drugs, something. You know what I mean? And I used to run these groups and help them, and I got a lot from that. I like that a lot. I still go there here and there, and yeah, I love it. But these guys are hard dudes, and when I say they beat the bag out of this one guy, because apparently like a bunch of them came up to fight, but then once the fight actually started, only one actually tried to fight. So it was pretty funny. But anyways, I just kind of went off on a little stupid story. But anyways, my point is that in Hong Kong, if you guys haven't heard, they have this face mask ban. And I think that, I don't think we should do it in the US. But then again, in high crime areas, and it's kind of another thing where I can see both sides. In high crime areas, against terrorist groups like Antifa, which that's exactly what they are, throwing feces and urine at people. I don't know. It's just like they're disgusting, beating people like that reporter. It's just gross. And you know, people like that, you want to be able to see their faces, because unfortunately, we live in this, you know, especially in the cities, you're always on camera, and it's facial recognition everywhere. Now, it is true that it doesn't work as well on African Americans. Um, I don't know why that is. I don't think it's the stupid racist thing. Oh, well, all black guys look like. I don't think that's what it is. I think there's more to it. But there's also a conflict of interest there, because it kind of opens the doors for more kind of targeting and things like that. So it's kind of hard to separate that. But maybe they could do it, especially now that we have Antifa listed as one of these domestic terrorist groups. I don't see why they can't enforce some kind of no mask thing with them. But anyways, Hong Kong, um, they are in total defiance against this ban. I mean, check it out. Oh,
Volume 14.
so I don't see any masks there, but I know that a lot of them are not just on strike for the obvious reasons. That stupid deal that was signed by Britain that basically just kind of kicked this problem down the road, and now it's rearing its ugly head. And China is 100 times stronger than they were back then when this was signed. Um, but you got to give it to these. What do they call it? They call themselves Hong Kongans. Hong Kong. I know that there's something they like to be called. But do you know that like it's funny how trends go. Like 20 years ago, it was like kind of like looked down upon to be Hong Kong, and it was something like 75% of them identified as Chinese. Now it's like the other way. It's like 75% of them identify as Hong Kongans. There's a certain term that they use that they like to call themselves. So, I mean, the world's like, there's problems popping up all over the place, just like that kind of like wacka groundhog mole or whatever thing I talked about. Um, And I saw what Joey Snake Eyes said. You know, and that's what I'm saying. He said, Joey Snake Eyes. So are we talking about genocide here with the Kurds? So wrong, and I couldn't agree more. And I asked that same question: is that literally what's gonna go down? Are they just gonna like go down there and just like wipe these people out? The people who have been fighting right by our side? But what's the answer? Go to war with Turkey? That's not the answer, right? Stay there forever? Establish a state like we did for Israel? I mean, that would probably be the best I could think of. Of course, easier said than done. But when it comes to Muslims, people don't seem to care to do that. Um, I mean, but then again, with Israel, the Nazis literally tried to wipe them off the face of the earth. So you can see how, the worldwide community all agreed that, okay, this can never happen again. They need to have their own safe state. Which brings me to my next thing. Um, it's more along the lines of the biblical. Um, Now, when I was talking about some of that stuff in space, um, trust me, it went through my mind beforehand. You know, well, if everything I just said was fact, then do I not believe in the Bible? Of course, well, for those of you who know me, you know I do. But at the same time, I think that there's some things beyond our understanding. And plus, do we really know what dinosaurs are? Do we really know how their brains worked exactly? There's a lot. I mean, we think we know a lot, but there's a lot unknown. There's more unknown than there is known. And, do we understand consciousness 100%? Do we understand, that? And this is what I think. I think that there's different dimensions of consciousness. And you can go. I think that there's a certain dimension that one would describe as hell. There's a dimension that would be heaven. In fact, I believe that would actually be the like true dimension. And then there's this world that we live in that God created in 6 days and rested on the seventh, and that's what I believe. And I also think that there's other levels of consciousness beyond that. I think that that's part of the reason for the fluoride in our water. It's not also in New York. The fluoride in our water, the the calcification of the pineal gland. It's not for no reason that they have a pine cone statue in the Vatican, you know? So I just wanted to address that. But speaking of the Vatican, just a couple days ago, in fact, I believe it was the 3rd, there were Vatican raids on their financial offices. See, I wish I could like read you guys every single article, but I've read these articles. I know the minimum in and out. So I actually it's better to like have a true understanding. It'd be nice to like show you guys, but you know, Google it and put when I'm done. I'll put in the description as well. Okay, so there were FBI raids done. In the Vatican, just like any state, has this the financial district, and their financial centers and records were raided. And apparently, that what they're saying is that it is to fight back against corruption and things like that. I mean, you're talking about this huge. I mean, it maybe not as big as it was in the basically any time in recent history, up until late 90s, I would say. That's like, that was kind of when the Catholic Church at least ended around here. I mean, around here, it's like I thought everybody was Catholic. And I think anyone from like Boston, New York, New Jersey, probably Philly, you guys probably feel like that too. You might grow up feeling the same way. You feel like you just thought everyone was Catholic, and you just thought Catholic is Christian and Christian is Catholic, which is true to an extent, but no, there's so many denominations of Christianity. But I grew up thinking everybody was a Italian slash Puerto Rican slash Portuguese slash Irish. That was kind of like the, and Haitian, a lot of Haitians as well. Um, they weren't at Sunday school, but most everyone at school, at my real school, was at Sunday school. And if they weren't at Sunday school, then they were at a Catholic school and not the public high school or the public schooling system like I was. And, anyways, I'm sorry. So back to the rage. So that's what they're saying publicly, is that it's for corruption and things like that. Now, what do I think? I think that they're trying to do a cover up. That's what I think. Or this is the other possibility to me. Or this whole thing with Q. I know that not everyone believes in this, but as I've told you guys a million times, I followed him. I followed that stuff, and I followed every lead. I followed the crowd source, the way that the whole 8chan, the way they would bring up all of the research. I would, contribute to the research. It taught me how to research. I saw too many things come true. I saw too many times Q acknowledge somebody saying, especially at the beginning, have Trump say this, have Trump say this, have Trump say this 2 times, exactly 2, not 3, not once, but twice, and every single time he did. It was like unbelievable. Have him say hippity hop on Easter. He said hippity hop. And he's talking about the Easter bunny. So he goes, "Oh, he's gonna hippity hop out of it." And then when I heard that, I like knew. But as time goes by, you start to question again because nothing was happening, and things are starting to happen though. And what I think a lot of us didn't understand back then was that this was going to be the long game. And it seems like that's what they did. They planned the long game. And that's why you have been seeing what you've been seeing. With the Mueller report showed nothing after all that lying. So many people were so shocked by that, but I wasn't. People thought Rosenstein was cool with Trump. I knew he wasn't. And it's not because of any news or anything like that. It was just because of Q. And then people then as far as the Pfizer abuse, the way they used the Five Eyes to spy on the president, the way that they had the FBI investigation. I mean, the way that they were able to abuse the Pfizer courts was the FBI went in and said they had verified intel when it wasn't verified, and it wasn't even like, I mean, to anybody who does any kind of investigating for a living, would never go before a judge and present this. Forget about as verified. They wouldn't even present this information as potential fact. No way. It was holes in it, more holes in it than the Iraqi Navy. It was unbelievable. It was just, you know, this Michael Steele guy, his dossier, it didn't make sense. He kept changing the story. Um, Bruce Orr, he picked it up and he was pushing it so hard, and the way that um, what's his name? what's that other guy's name? I'll think of it in a second. But then, the way that, Brennan, basically Brennan, he kind of set things up. He's the CIA guy. But the one who went in front of that FISA court was Comey and McCabe. And that's where they're screwed. And then now we're starting to see that they are raiding Democrats' offices. They're raiding, there's all these random elites going down. And this is the evidence of Coup. He said, there's no, he essentially said, no one's going to say, oh, patriots did this. No, but you're going to see things happening in the news. And we've been seeing it. We saw this guy who died mysteriously, and then they find thousands of medically preserved babies in his basement. Then we find out that these abortions, they're getting like $500,000 a baby, and they try to pass not just late term abortion, but after birth. They would take the baby, put it on the table, resuscitate it if needed, talk to the mother, and now here's the legalese. If it was a non-viable baby, which according to their, so this is a thing, this is how they use legalese, non-viable could mean that the mother didn't have like a nice, like a home, like a reliable home, or it's basically being poor could make the baby non-viable. There's so many loopholes in that statement of non-viable. So basically, they taken these perfectly healthy babies, resuscitating them if they have to, and then once the mother makes that decision, they don't kill it right there in front of the mother. And nurses started to notice that these babies were being kept alive, and all of a sudden a van would come get them, and they were starting to get bothered. They're like, where are these babies going? So, because the problem that they had as far as the organs was they would have to, once the abortion, once they, especially like a late term one, once that abortion happened and the baby was dead, they needed to literally like have a plane on the ground, get things on ice, get those, get the whole thing moving. And they were looking for a way to prolong the life a little bit longer so that they could, harvest the organs in a more efficient and profitable manner. It's disgusting. I know, I'm sorry to even talk about this, but it's more evidence the way that all that came out. And then, the guy who kind of spilled the beans, and well, he didn't spill the beans, he more so kind of slipped up and got too honest about what bill he was trying to propose in Virginia, which is the same bill that was passed in New York, by the way. He's kind of slipped up, and then literally 2 days later, all of a sudden, blackface. He has blackface pictures. Oh, not just him. His lieutenant governor has a sex scandal, and then third in line also has blackface all at once. One, two, three of the governors of the people, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and whatever the third in line. I guess like the attorney, the something general attorney. No, because that's more. But it might actually be the attorney general of the state that was third in line. But anyways, if whoever it was, they had blackface as well, and it all came out at once, which is exactly what goes on with these things like Mossad, the CIA. That's why Epstein. Remember, with you guys, if you guys were there, if you weren't, I highly recommend these videos. They're long, but oh, are they full of, there's some meat on that bone. We went through the black book, we went through the flight logs. I've seen so many versions of people who cracked the flight logs, but there's so many different names where it just says unintelligible. like they couldn't read it. But somehow we were able to. I mean, because we really put a lot of time into it. And I say we because we did it together. I would get some, Chat would get some. It was a team effort. Those are some great nights. And then all of a sudden, he's dead in his cell, supposedly. I mean, I think he was killed, but you know, and I think the reason he was a pedophile, obviously, but because he had this forbidden taste, I guess, sexual urge, the Mossad used him and funded him. I mean, his wealth basically came out of nowhere. He got left a $70 million mansion in New York City by the CEO of Victoria's Secret, um, Les Wexner or whatever. It just random occurrences of just money being wired to him. And when you really look into it, what was he? A financial advisor? So, anyways, what I'm getting at is the reason that those pictures came out after they found out about what they were really doing with those babies is because everybody in the government is compromised to a point or blackmailed. It's like when I got my top secret clearance. It was very important to them that I was honest about everything. Something like, did you ever try smoking marijuana? I said no. But then I was honest. I said, okay, I tried it. And they were happy I was honest. If I wasn't honest, they maybe wouldn't have let me fully go get the clearance. I might have not gotten a clearance at all, or a lesser clearance. Because they want to know that you're honest. They just want to know it. I mean, they've heard it all. They deal with the worst. So they want to know that you can't be blackmailed. Now, the CIA wants to know that they can blackmail you, though, at the same time when it comes to politicians. So that's what they do. They get them in these compromised positions with people like J.E., Mr. Island himself. Well, by the way, I was watching some like awesome drone footage of the island. It's amazing. You really gotta check it out. Way more symbolism than I even realized. Wow, the symbolism is unbelievable. I'll actually put that in the description as well. A link to this guy who does this drone footage above the island. So also, that's basically I think what you know JE was all about. He would basically, take people, um, you know, satisfy their dark, forbidden urges, I guess, and blackmail him for it. He had the whole place wired with cameras. I mean, what do you think he was trying to just get himself set up to be taken down? No, he was above the law. That's why when he did get caught, he got a slap on the wrist, and he went to, jail for billionaires, where you get to leave and go to work every day. I mean, it's a joke. The only reason that he's even ended up in the position that he ended up in was because of the movement by Trump, the Trump movement, the Make America Great Again, the Q movement, all of that. That's really why, you know. Um, so, which leads me to my next thing. Um, Speaking of, um, did I talk about the Dems getting raided? I did a little bit, but if you guys didn't hear that, I just said it briefly. The Democrats, a bunch of Democrats, just had their houses and office, or mostly their offices, raided, computers taken, um, you know, hard drives. They were after it all. Now, realistically, NSA kind of has everything, especially now that they cut the corn. If you guys know what I'm talking about, do you guys remember all those tweets? We talked about this on one show, but a lot of you might not have seen it. They were talking about how they cut the corn. And, Nunez even said it. He said, I'm hunting chupacabra. objects, and then it was a random thing to say, but it said objects in photo um, are closer than they appear. Yet it was him in a cornfield with a rifle and like a hunting outfit. That was all he was pointing at, was the corn, and that it was going to be handled sooner rather than later. And then there was another cryptic tweet from him. It just didn't say the corn is going to be cut. No, no, no. It wasn't said like that. It was said like corn be to cut. It's like, huh. And everyone kind of made fun of him for, bad grammar and, not like checking his tweet before he sends it. But that was on purpose. Because, believe it or not, when it comes to these hacker groups, a lot of their badge, they have so many different badges. NROC, the wizards and warlocks, and all that. And they also would have there's an old Sega Genesis game, and it was also a PC game, like an old PC game, and it was like really popular amongst like computer nerds, and there was something about it where it was very popular. And there would be like this alien, it would say your bases is belong to us, and it like with broken English, and I guess they were trying to make it like an alien, they don't speak English correctly, so they say all your bases to us belong, or say something to that effect, right? So he writes it just like that, and then you have Comey come out talking about um, the corn being ready for harvest, and that was his way of giving everybody in the deep state a heads up. Hey, they're taking our eyes. Because I think that the one problem that the Trump administration was having is they were noticing, they're like, we have NSA, so we have access to all communications. Yet how is it they're all on the same page, they're all communicating? They figured it out. It's one, and the funny thing is, it's actually in the executive branch. It's under the DNI, and the DNI at the time was Coates, and we had talked about Coates. If you remember, we talked about him. I remember telling you guys, August 15th, he was due to be removed as the head of the DNI. Also on that date was, I saw Brian Knights in here. Also on that date, if you guys remember, that was the date that he put out. He kind of put out like like a from this day to this day, kind of like a 1 week or like 5 day period where this whatever that object was, that wasn't visible to the eye yet had mass, and you could only see it when a solar flare would come off the sun, and you would see the solar flare go around this mass. And I found it fascinating. And each year, he kept track of it going around. It seemed like it was, going around the sun. But from our perspective, and we'd see it go by. And he was able to calculate when it was going to pass each year. And he had it right every year. Sure enough, it was going to pass on August 15th. That was also after 8chan went down on August 5th, and it said 10 days of darkness. So I was convinced August 15th is the day. You know what I mean? Hey, and maybe it was. Maybe that was the day when all this stuff, all this stuff kind of kicked off. And now that I look back, really what had to happen for this all to happen is replace that DNI Coates. They replaced him with acting DNI McGuire. Although I think he might be a more permanent figure, but then again, he might be like like the Attorney General, until they have somebody, and they already know who is going to be their guy. But you know, if Q's real, put it this way, there's going to be arrests, indictments, and all that by before the election. And we're already seeing it. We're seeing the Democrats' places getting raided. We're seeing all these little things, you know, um, truth being brought from the darkness to the light. Now back to this cutting the corn. Now corn backwards because even in the Bible it says that they hide their ideas upside down or backwards. Same thing that the secret societies do, same thing that the deep state do. They hide their ideas, they present that, as a good thing that you need, all right? Present the problem and they present it as this good solution when it's really just something to take away your rights or further their agenda, whatever the situation may be. Now, in this situation, sure enough, corn happened to mean NROC, the National Reconnaissance Office, but then the S. Wait, National Reconnaissance. Wait, well, I had this all memorized. I don't know. National Reconnaissance Operations. Center. That's what it is. National Reconnaissance Operations Center. That's what it is. And they have like different divisions under it as well that are more specific. Like, for instance, like what I did, like SIGINT, just SIGINT. They have that. That's out of a JSOC, I believe. All it's very important. This NROC. Basically, what it is, it's all the satellites. And there was a time when Q would come up, he'd say, if you ever want to search it, go to QAnon.pub, type in Corona, because that was kind of like a code word for their satellite program. And when they were talking about Hillary Clinton, by the way, selling our SAP, Special Access Programs, yeah, NROC was probably the main one that she was exposing to other countries. Like it was for the United States, but what it became under all these crooked administrations was like for the elites. It was more so for the elites, which is why they kind of formed into globalists and they make it seem like a good thing when it's really just about power, control, keeping us blind and dumb and poisoned, halfway poisoned, not poisoned to the point where we're just dropping dead right away, but poisoned enough where we're not operating at full full spiritual, mental, physical capacity. That's something I've noticed as well. A lot of people, and even what we're doing right now, sitting on these phones. All right, sitting on these phones, we're getting diabetes quicker. We're not getting exercise. You got to remember to exercise, guys. And I'm guilty as anybody. Seriously. I have pretty good genetics. I'm able to get away without exercising at my age and, not get too, but my doctor actually checked my levels. He said, you're pre diabetic. If you don't do something right now, you'll have diabetes in a year. So I changed my diet. I didn't start exercising, but me and Amanda made a pact. After tomorrow, everything goes well, we're gonna change our living habits. Keep drinking not 2 days a week or 3 days a week, but just one every 2 weeks. Smoking weed just, or unless she needs it to eat, until she's better. That should be another thing that's once or twice a week. You know what I mean? Everything in moderation. Exercise. 4 times a week at least. Things like that. I mean, we have a gym here, we have pool, we have basketball courts, tennis courts. We're taking advantage of this stuff. And it's important that all of us in our own way, take the stairs to the elevator. I don't mean to, like, when people talk about this, I kind of start feeling bad about myself, worrying about my health. Nobody wants to come here and think about their problems and think about all that. But what I'm saying is that they kind of set us up so that we're just sitting here with a phone. If it wasn't for the phone with all this entertainment and all the information and the whole world at our fingertips, I mean, there's no way that we could just sit there and think about just sitting there, our ancestors just sitting there staring at their hand. I mean, they would never get nothing done. Yes, we are getting knowledge, but that information is censored, controlled, it's filtered, it's weaponized. They use information as a weapon. Um, you know, um, and then let's not. And then there's a whole another element to that where we're talking about Satan. We're talking about evil, and they used to have this thing called like a black mirror, and they would kind of be able to do things, and a lot of people, and it makes sense that these phones, it's almost like you're communicating with that realm. And you know what? I think that there's some truth to that. When I used to go on the dark web a lot, and I saw some crazy stuff, there was this one video, and I'll never forget it. And there were warnings not to watch it, and I just thought, this would just be something scary. I'm looking to scare myself. No, I came across some legit Satanism shit. And that night, and I told this story a couple times, that night, I kept having flashes of the Baphomet. And it's like, you're not even supposed to start sleeping until you're in REM sleep. But I remember the clock. I remember looking at it. It's like, let's say 1:30. And then I close my eyes, and then I see the Baphomet. And he's holding up the two fingers. He got the goat hooves, the female boobs, the goat head and horns. And then he put up his two fingers and his other fingers down, and then his other two fingers down. And I was like, and that means like I am God. That's like if you see old paintings of Jesus, he has the two. I shouldn't even do that symbol. That's wrong. Because the Lord Father, it's the Trinity. That's God, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But that's what this thing was doing. And it wasn't in REM sleep. I woke up in a gasp. And I had only had one, and not just did I see this like a dream. No, it was vivid. It was like it was real life. There was like no changing it from real life. I started looking around like, did I fall asleep or did it just appear and disappear? Like it was one of those situations. And I've only had one other dream like that, and it was my father holding kind of rubbing my shoulders, telling me everything's gonna be all right. A couple of weeks after he died in 2009. So that's the only other time I had a vivid dream like that. I wasn't smoking weed. There was no mind altering, nothing that night. And I'm talking about this Baphomet night, right? And I saw that. And when I looked at the clock, remember I said, like, let's say it was 1:30, it would have said 1:31. It's like, how do you even hit REM sleep? That makes no sense. How am I dreaming? The second my eyes closed, I'm having a vivid, lucid dream. Is that even possible? And as I'm looking up, it seems like it's not possible. Yet, I've kind of had experiences like that where, but when I have those experiences, I'm already in a deep sleep. And then I'll wake up and I'm kind of half like awake, and then I fall asleep, and then you get that flash or image or feeling of falling or whatever it is, and you wake up like, you know, no, this is me wide awake, fall asleep, instant see it. So, anyways, now I'm up, scared shit. But a half hour goes by, I fall asleep again, same exact thing, except this time it pointed at me. Again, looked at the clock, and this time the first thing I did was look at the clock because I couldn't believe because I started even Googling, like, how long does it take to dream? And I started reading, and I was like, no, that's right. It's in REM sleep. So actually, you have to be asleep for X amount of time. And, that makes no sense that I had such a vivid, lucid dream. Happened the same exact way. So that was freaky. And that's when I realized I am not messing around with the dark web, especially in respects to some of those crazy videos on there. Um, now somebody easily could have, there's ways to, put subliminal messages in videos. I actually learned about this a lot. And, that does happen, except it's subtle and it's subliminal. This was just like blatant, and it came to me in my dreams, and I didn't sleep the rest of that night, but I never seen it again. Now I see 444 everywhere, everywhere. And, people say it's like, you know, you're becoming closer to God, and, found Jesus, or to calling for a higher purpose, and all this stuff. I don't know what it means. All I know is I see it all the time, and it has to do with something positive. I really believe that it's a positive message. It's almost kind of like the 666. Well, if there was a if there was like a like a pendulum, and there was a six, the opposite of the six would be the four. I kind of look at it like that, but I see the 444 everywhere. But anyways, so my point is, not only for your physical health, but for your mental health and for your spirit, your soul. I like saying soul. I don't really like saying spirit, but for your spiritual health though, and your soul. I'm not saying don't come and watch these videos. I'm saying to be careful with the amount of influence that these devices and the internet have over your life. If you find yourself on it more than you're not on it, if you find yourself up all night because you're on it, I mean, I get it. We have every piece of information, well, supposedly, you know, ever found, learned, um, in one place, and it's just a click away. I get it. I get it. I'm the biggest victim of it. The biggest perpetrator of it. I'm not victim, but like perpetrator. I'm so bad. That's why I research so hard. That's why I do these videos, because I do so much research, and it gets to a point where you need to do everything in moderation. There's nothing wrong with going on this. Don't feel guilty about that. But in 420, so that was fun. I see 111, 2, and 420. But no, seriously, everything in moderation. That's my best advice on that. And also, so back to the story. I think for me, it helps me think to kind of like, just let me do my thing. It's the way I think, and I don't know. So there's all this going on across the world. Now we have Hong Kong, okay? And it's very obvious that, like, the same way that Russia, for instance, would like influence Cuba and basically Venezuela, because Cuba influences Venezuela, so indirectly or indirectly yet directly, Russia slash Iran, especially Russia, who's more of a paper tiger, to be honest with you, influence Cuba, who influences Argentina. And of course, China has interests that align with Russia as well. Yet Hong Kong has always been a little bit different because they were a British colony. So they've all, the governments that you put in place, and government, language, things like this, they shape generations. They shape people. Um, like India, they were a colony of England, well, Great Britain, um, or England at the time, and a lot of their culture is tied to the Western world, whereas their mortal enemy, Pakistan, by the way, both countries has nukes and big problems with those two countries, especially at this at the latest UN meeting. Trump was trying to kind of set up a meeting where he could kind of help the two kind of come to some agreements, because right now there's stalemate between India and Pakistan. We don't hear about anything until it comes to war, but these are the type of things that lead to these situations where it's a gridlock and war seems like the only answer. Well, and with two countries with nukes, it's something that we should keep an eye on. Yet the reason that India, or at least they're supposed to be, the allied with the Western world, because governments were put in place. Governments were put in place. Religion, um, culture, all of that. It shapes the people. It shapes generations in the future. You wonder why there's black Israelites, African Israelites. Well, because they came from Israel, and they taught them, and they're one of the 12 tribes, from what I understand. So, also, you wonder why, I don't know, why does Brazil speak Portuguese? And it's all about culture, language, government, all these things. And it kind of determines what's going to happen with that country. If you try to do it the opposite way, like in the Middle East, if you try to make a Sunni nation Shiite, it's not going to work out. Or a Shiite nation Sunni, it's not going to work out. It's like Yemen. Well, more so Shiite, yet Saudi Arabia is right there and is trying to have influence over them, whereas they're Sunni. Same thing. Iraq, other way around this time. Iraq, we go in, we take out a dictator that ruled with an iron fist, and we ended up finding out that he was the kind of the balance of that region. Not that it was ever some great thing going on in the Middle East outside of, the holier sites, and, Israel, Palestine, it's a whole nother thing. But once we removed that power, all of a sudden Iran's influence became huge. But that would never work in Iraq because Iraq is mostly Sunni. Um, and Iran is Shiite. And it's just, it's a funny balance the way it goes. And, well, not funny, but, even the languages are so different. You know, it's Farsi in Iran, yet in Iraq they speak, or well, Iran like to be called Persians. They speak Farsi, and then you know, then in Iraq they'll speak Arabic, and it's just so many different elements people aren't aware of. I wasn't aware of a lot of them for a long time. Things are very complicated, and all of these things, when you put them together, are the reasons we have so many hotspots around the world. Well, another hotspot is North Korea. No, North Korea was going to come to the table, did come to the table, then decided to walk away from the table, which ultimately lost John Bolton his job, which we'll get back to him in a minute, because he came out, Mr. Warmonger himself, saying, you know, well, North Korea, they need to do this, or we are going to do this. We are going to, he said, I think what he said exactly was, we could take them out with the Libyan model. I explained pretty graphically what the Libyan model was. Hillary Clinton said, We came, we saw, he died. Well, in reality, we went in, the CIA caused this huge disruption, and they overthrew their own leader. And they didn't just, send him into exile or kill him, behead him. No, they stuck stuff up his ass until he died. That's how he died. And he wasn't as bad a guy as they make him out. He had his country 100% energy efficient, self-reliant. Nobody paid rent. Nobody had to pay for like food. All this stuff. You had housing supplied for you. You had all that. Yet they weren't communist. But you know where he messed up? He wanted to get them off of the petrodollar. Now you're effing with our money. We're gonna come in and we're gonna make sure you have the most brutal end that a leader has had in modern history. A story that isn't talked about that often. Which brings me to back to North Korea. I'm bouncing around a little bit, but North Korea is now, they're setting up. They're coming back to the table. I think that part of what got them to the table was the North Koreans, not just the North Koreans, but Iran. They hate Bolton. They look at him. They call him like the 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 warmonger in chief or something like that. They have some nickname for him. They can't stand him, and I think that firing Bolton served many purposes. One, you got that more warmonger out of your ear. Although I believe in having all options, you know, you want to have that option. And there's one thing he's good at. It's how to invade and militarily defeat another military. I mean, without military, it's not, it doesn't take as much strategy as it did maybe in World War II, let's say, but still, it's strategy, and especially from a director level. Um, so I wouldn't, I would listen to him rarely, but if I was president, I would want somebody with a different view of whatever. That's what JFK used to do. He would have people with all different views, and he'd listen to them all and kind of see which, you once you hear all sides, you can make a better educated decision. And Trump has been known to kind of be like that as well. And but in order to stop the drumbeat of war that was going on just not too long ago with Iran, and in order to get North Korea back to the negotiating table, I believe that one thing that had to happen was Bolton be removed, which he was. Now North Korea's coming to the table. Things with Iran have calmed down, at least that's the way it seems. But with Trump, you never know, right? Which brings me to the next thing. And this has been going all over Twitter, all over YouTube. And I think that basically almost everybody most likely has it wrong. I told you guys that my first instinct was um, it's a nothing burger. Basically, something, and by the way, I'm talking about the Marine reservists, and there was a change made um, to like operational procedure as far as deployment and leave and things like that. When it, cycling out one, you know, just for Marine reservists, not all Marines, just the Marine reservists. And I think that it's just a regular formality, and that's it. That was my initial reaction after speaking to a few Marines. I they agreed. They felt the same way. However, I will leave open this possibility. With this impeachment and with what this president's had to face, it's basically been like a non-stop coup of the elites, the media, the Democrats. And basically, I hate to call them gullible and brainwashed, but yeah, those types of people. Um, the type of people who are like, you know, you're a Trump supporter, you racist, you Nazi. It's like, that's the most like lazy, like no thought, no unfactual argument you can make is when they start down that road of bigot, Nazi, racist, all that. It just means they don't have an argument and they can't deny that he's doing a good job. So they just go with Nazi, and it's like upside down world. And the people who are going around in mass beating people and terrorizing people are the anti-fascists, yet their flag is the same thing as the Socialist Party of Germany back before. I mean, that's what the Nazis are. They were the Socialist Party, the Socialist, the People's Workers Party, something like that. Socialist People's Working Party, whatever. But yeah, they were the Nazis. And then the way they really got power was they were getting power, but they, still didn't have most of the parliament. And it wasn't a prime minister. What is it called? Chancellor. The chancellor um, had the power. Yet, all of a sudden, there was a fire. There was a fire. And they blamed it on the communists. And turns out the Nazis, history, we now know, the Nazis said it themselves. And you guys want to hear this, because what I'm going to follow this up with is extremely interesting. This is what I talked about yesterday that I really wanted to talk about. Well, I'm getting to it. So what they did was they pulled an FF. There's nothing new under the sun. They pulled an FF, just like they do now, to further their agenda. And what they did is they lit the Reichstag. I should know the name, but their big government building with the chancellor, and they lit it on fire. They demanded action from the chancellor. They said he was too weak. The people rose up, and before you knew it, the chancellor stepping down, and Adolf Hitler is not only taking power, but he is condensing all of the power to himself. No, I didn't see Glenn Beck's video on Ukraine, but I did plan on touching on Ukraine, just so you know. But so oh yeah, a lot of countries colluded with the Nazis. The Vatican colluded with the Nazis. Ukraine colluded with the Nazis because they were kind of, against Russia. Although ultimately they ended up kind of, being taken by Russia. The Polish, as much as it seems like they were invaded. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of the people were sympathetic to the Nazis. Same thing with Finland, and Finland actually, um, the Nazis helped Finland because Finland would rather, it was like their choices were Russia or Germany, and a lot of those countries would take the more technological advanced, um, better military, better trained country, more aligned with their views, with their government of the Nazis than the commies. And so ultimately it ended up being a nasty war because I believe the Red Army ended up going into I should know this because I'm obsessed with. But I think the Red Army went into Finland. It ended up being a pretty bloody war, and the Nazis ultimately won the day. Um, I just remember like seeing these like Nazis on skis going down a mountain with like you know like these. It was just unbelievable. They like legit like have their weapons and they're on skis going down. Like that's how they would travel. It's unbelievable. A lot of these countries are sympathetic. A lot of German gold. And when I say German gold, I mean stolen Jewish gold or stolen from Paris gold, in Swiss banks. Um, Now, one of the most sympathetic to the Nazis, outside of the obvious ones, Italy, um, Japan, it was more so they aligned interests. Um, but a lot of people don't know this, was Argentina and Chile. Which brings me to my next subject that I couldn't wait to talk about last night. So, some of you guys might have heard this. To others, this is new and it's going to blow your mind. But, and this is why I wish I had the computer because a visual aid would be awesome right now. You know what? YouTube, Bavarian, Argentina. So, um, if you go to Argentina right now, there was actually a TV show made about this by a former special YouTube Nazis Argentina. Well, anyways, okay, so oh my gosh, sorry. YouTube Bavarian Society Argentina. So in Argentina, we all picture, Spanish men. Same thing in Chile. They speak Spanish. We have an image of what they look like. All of that, right? Well, it turns out that they have. They say German villages, but no, we're talking like about 50 large communities of Germans, just Germans. I mean, we're talking the whole 9 yards. Blonde hair, blue eyed, mother, father, kids. And it's like, well, why are all these Germans here? Was there like some, you know, mass, mass like, migration at some point? Kind of like, you know, back like in the 20s with the Italians, or back in the 1860s with the Irish, or in the 40s with the Portuguese, or all these different kind of waves of people coming in, or the you know um, 2010s of the El Salvadorians and Guatemalans. I mean, there's all these waves of certain immigrants, and when they come in, they're hated. Like the Irish. I mean, like Freud was just beginning all his studies into psychology, and he was a trailblazer. He figured out that basically your childhood has a lot to do. Now, there is that nature nurture aspect, so of course genetics comes into play. But as far as nurture, it's, according to him, it was like all about your raising as a child. And as like I have a associates in psychology, so I understand it enough. And honestly, my knowledge is way beyond my degree. And it's all about the formative years that shape our personalities later. along with our experiences as young adults, and then it continues to shape us, and then our experiences as adults. Like I feel like I'm like all the way matured, but I'm 30, 34, no 35. So no 34. I always am like a year. I'm 35. Oh my god. Anyways, so I know people who are over 35 are looking at me like, oh, you're a baby. And people who are under 35 are thinking, oh, you're old. It's just the way it is. I remember 35 was like so old to me. But when I'm 45, 35 will be like, wow, so young. I had everything in front of me. Um, but basically, when I'm 50, my experiences as a father, things like, stuff going on in my life right now, it's going to shape me later in life. And but really it's the childhood that shapes us. Now, what's this have to do with Argentina and all that? Well, I was just talking about when large masses of people migrate to different countries, and how Freud say, the Irish, they are like immune to psycho psychoanalysts, psycho psychoanalysis. Blah, blah. It's late. By the way, people watching this the next day, it's like, what time is it? I actually need to know. It's probably like 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, 4:30 in the morning. So, anyways, so yeah, um, and that's what he would say about the Irish. Although I think there could be some truth to that. Anyways, but it was more a racist thing, you know. African Americans in the 1600s, or I mean, that's just there's waves of, and that's why we are a melting pot of a nation. And whatever the new group that's coming into the country is, they're not going to be accepted. But there is kind of a problem because right now they're coming in at a rate like we haven't seen since the Irish in the 1860s. Um, and it's unbelievable. And the thing is, with technology comes these new drugs. They have these gangs that they started out forming in LA, and then they really perfected them in El Salvador, and now they're bringing them back to our country, except to places where they never had things like MS-13. I mean, I remember we had MS-13 in the neighborhood in Boston where I grew up back in like 1999, and they literally got like pushed to the sea. They only were able to survive on the last city by the water, just outside of Boston, called Revere and Chelsea. That's the only places where they were allowed to be. Maybe a little bit in Lynn, but as far as like Somerville, anyone from Massachusetts understands what I mean. I was in Somerville at the time. They got pushed out of Somerville. The cops turned the other head. They let the Haitian gangs, H Block, the Irish gangs or mobs, the Irish mob, the Italians. They let them literally drag these guys out because what they did was they raped this girl who had no legs, and they gang raped her. It's sad. But anyways, in Argentina, back to the point. I'm sorry, this is just the way I think. I'm sorry. That was a bad. I really went off. But okay, this is really what I want to get across to you guys. In Afghanistan, it turns out that they had U-boats. Now, there were some people you can tell they're BS because they said, "Whoa, I saw the U-boat come right up, and I saw Hitler get out." Well, that's not the way U-boats work. They don't beach, you know what I mean? So right then you knew that was BS. But you know that they never actually found Hitler's body, right? They found a body. They said it was Hitler, and it was The Russians, if you don't know, um, the Russians, it was like who's going to get to Berlin first? Well, the Russians got captured Berlin first. We kind of went for the scientists and something called Operation Paperclip. We ended up getting hundreds, if not thousands, maybe just under 1,000 Nazi scientists, their brightest minds. And I'm not talking Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein famously even said, he said, you guys knew it was going down. If you didn't know by 1939 what was going down and what was going to happen, then you are like he didn't give the German people. A lot of people kind of like, hey, well, you know what? If the government's that way and you're surrounded by the military and that's your home and the military is that powerful, you kind of got to play along, you know? But no, Albert Einstein said, oh no, I was there at that time and all I had was a bicycle. All right. Well, obviously he's a little bit smarter than the average guy, but you know, he's considered the brightest mind of the 20th century. But he said, no, it does, intelligence has nothing to do with it. Everybody knew where this was going. And I decided to get out of there. Now, my only criticism of that is not everybody has the means to up and leave a country, especially, in those days, right? But apparently, I heard a counter argument to that yes, there were means. With all that going on, if you went to like an American embassy, they would take you. One, for any intel they can get out of you. But then you got to think, it can't just be you. It can't just be your immediate family. Because there's always going to be someone you love that's going to be hurt because you leaving. You got to bring everyone you love and everyone that they love. And, it's a very difficult thing to do. So, anyways, a bunch of Nazis. Now they knew they were surrounded. And do you know who held the Russians and the Americans off? No bullshit. The Nazi youth. We're talking 11 and 12-year-old. Um, a lot of these guys would have been, basically all of them, the best ones, would become SS, SS soldiers. They'd be the special forces of their day. And literally the best. I mean, the SS, they had the best weapons. I mean, the Americans would pick up their weapons instead of using our own. That's real. That's true. And the SS was a hard man. It's true. But they were sick in the head. And they were sick because they were into the esoteric. They would take these drugs that would alter their mind. They would have these religious experiences, except there was no religion. It was like really weird. But they would raise a German Shepherd, and that German Shepherd that would die for them and love them, they would kill it. They would have them kill it after they raise it. They would have them raise something that loves them and then kill it, suffocate it. And you would have to do it in a way where you're looking down at it, suffocate. Like this is there's a word for it. It's um, something del blood. It's like a Latin phrase, and basically it just means like learning to kill. Um, Kind of like what we know now with psychology as fracturing of the mind. Just the way you would compartmentalize um, top secret information, you compartmentalize your mind in order to even deal with the horrific stuff. And anyways, the Hitler Youth, these 11, 12-year-olds are the ones who held off and kept the city from falling for days. I mean, the last appearance of Adolf Hitler alive was him out there shaking the hands and pinning medals on 11-year-olds that were covered with head wounds, missing arms, and they were full of pride, and it was unbelievable. I mean, listen, I am a Nazi hating MF. You know what I mean? Like, but you have to think of an 11-year-old being able to, like, all of the adults are dead as far as the men, or they're like too old, or else they'd be fighting, right? So the children were fighting, and they were actually holding off the Russians on one front and the English, Australians, and Americans on the other front. So yeah, I can admire that. And they fought and they died. All right, they died. We wiped their asses out, or so we thought. Turns out, a bunch of Nazis, and we're not just talking low rank Nazis. We're talking as high up as the guy who was in charge of the experiments on twins, like Jews, and all these like six experiments. Well, he ended up dying of old age. He wrote a he kept a journal, and it was found in Argentina, where he had a beautiful, way younger Brazilian wife, and had all these riches with his Nazi gold that he basically accumulated from war and the mouths of dead Jewish people's teeth, gold teeth that they had burned, and they take the gold teeth. It's really sad. It's sick from the Holocaust, you know? And that's how he made his money. He died of old age with this young Brazilian girl on his whatever, you know? It's like unbelievable. Now, also, I think it was a very high-ranking one was down there, but he was caught by the Mossad. He was caught by the Mossad. There was a huge hunt for Nazis, but there was only they caught a lot of them, but there was a lot they didn't catch, and the ones they didn't catch, where they ended up, was Chile, and in Chile, they allowed them. The Chilean government became powerful by torture. And what they would do is they had power with by information, and they would torture like high diplomats from other South American countries, or even dictators in some situations, and get information, and then use that information to blackmail people. And the way they would get that information is torture. And we're not talking like, all right, I'm gonna rip out your fingernail. No, we're talking like some sick, like experimental torture that they would have some Nazis do to them. And they allowed a bunch of Nazis to live there, and so did Argentina. And Argentina, on a larger scale, it's just what was going on in Chile was like them furthering their exploration of human experiments. That was going on in Chile. And by the way, this is all going to be on a TV show that's going to be coming out. It's called Hunting Hitler. Ted Kennedy is his name. Oh, no, no. Tim Kennedy. Sorry, I'm from Massachusetts. Tim Kennedy. But in Argentina is where they had like 50, they say village. No, I'm talking communities. All right. Like you can go there and have the Bavarian experience. And you guys know Bavaria, that's where the whole like when you think of the Illuminati and things like that, that was started in Bavaria, by the way. That's where a lot of that secret society stuff started, which ended up branching into like the Rosicrucians, things like that. But yeah, that started in Bavaria. So Bavaria, by the way, it's like German, but a certain part of Germany. It's kind of like the old name for Germany, and then before that, I believe it was the like in Spartacus's days drop. Do you remember before what the Germans were known as? It began with a T, but I think it was like TH. Like for instance, the French were the Gauls. Oh, actually, I think the Germans were considered the nomads, or it was almost like they were like a barbaric culture. And they people think that the Germans don't have power. Well, they have power still. Um, they've always been closely linked with England. The reason that Hitler lost that war is he underestimated that first the U.S. would join. He didn't think the U.S. would join. Two, he thought that England just wanted to survive, and he thought England would actually maybe even help him defeat the communists. He thought that was a way bigger threat. And it was a big threat, which is why right after World War II, we went straight to the Cold War because, the communists were there and now they were more powerful than ever. And by the way, what I was saying before, they got to Berlin first, they got to Hitler's body. Well, their shoddy science, they ended up finding out that the body that they got was actually the body of a 35-year-old woman. So, did they grab the wrong body? Did they just end up grabbing his girlfriend, Ava Braun? Well, actually, wife. They got married right before they supposedly committed suicide. Did they grab the body of his wife, Ava Braun? Or did Hitler get away? And that's the thing. And that's what this show's all about. It's trying to figure out if, because there's all these legends, because all his top high ranking guys got away. A lot of them were captured by Mossad, but a lot died in old age on a beach with a Brazilian woman in Argentina. Like the head guy that was the surgeon general, the head, uh, the head of science or whatever, that as far as human experimentation and the sick stuff they would do to a twin, especially Jewish twins. I mean, if you were a Jewish twin, probably the worst thing you could be, like in 1939, 1940. But there's nothing worse that you could be because they would torture you in ways that I couldn't even imagine. But anyways, let's look into this. You guys wouldn't believe it. They are not only descendants of Nazis, they are amazingly proud of their ancestors. When they speak about their ancestors, they fill up with pride. And they have all their war medals. You go into their living room, it's like you're entering like this like Nazi memorabilia room. It's unbelievable. It's not like, they say, never blame, don't punish a man for the sins of his father. All right, I agree with that. I wouldn't punish a German for the sins of his father if he was a Nazi. But if you're proud of those accomplishments and you agree with that ideology, which, by the way, is being pushed in Argentina, in Chile, they're pushing that type of ideology. They would look at the Chilean boys like, oh, they don't have to eat as much. And basically, that's like the type of stuff that he would figure out. He's like, oh, the Jews, like a cockroach, they survive. They always find a way to survive. But the Chileans are strong and wiry, and they don't require much food. And it's sick stuff. It's just, it's eugenics. It's just, it's sick. It's something that I think I can 100% say with confidence that everyone here are not supportive, and we all find it disgusting. But the fact that this exists in Argentina and so many got away is what amazes me. I mean, check this out. By the way, battery's running out. If it runs out, I'll be back in like 4 minutes after it dies, if it dies. Come on. Snap on the guide to perfectly shape your full beard and keep your stubble trimmed exactly to your style. Snap it on and remove unwanted hair. Oh, look. It's in German. The neo-Nazi are trying to become a staple. I mean, I haven't like seen these videos before. I just know that this is all like legit. So there's legit these like in Argentina. They are 100% German blonde hair, blue eyes. The kids are German, and they actually um, are proud of their and there's nothing wrong with Germans either, you know. Come on, man. YouTube, German, Argentina. You know, and there's nothing. Hold on, I gotta put it back on me. All right, YouTube, Nazis in Argentina, and you know, there's nothing wrong with Germans. I don't have a problem with Germans. I don't like the country of Germany's policies. You know, I think that they let in way too many people and ruined their country. I really do believe that. Wow, I've never actually seen this. Okay, here we go. But yeah, people think that Hitler actually potentially, possibly got away to Argentina because we know that a bunch of Nazis did, and not just your everyday soldiers, but high-ranking Nazis. So check this out. Volume 43. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because right now they're just like looking for Nazi treasure, and I want you guys to see. Oh look, they had a military complex in Argentina, so that's not exactly what we're interested in. We want to. I just want to show you. I want to show you guys the villages they have down there. It's unbelievable. And they're proud of their ancestors, which really is kind of like weird to me. I mean, it's natural to be proud of your ancestor. It's definitely natural to be proud of your ancestors, but you know, if your ancestors are Nazis, I just don't get it. How can you be proud of that? But you know, it's hard to like. I hate speaking about people in broad terms like that, but the majority of them keep their father's medals, um, or grandfather's medals, whatever the case is. Probably grandfathers, except unless they're older, and they're very proud of what they did. So here they are in the jungles in Argentina. And you would be surprised the population percentage. If somebody want to look up Argentina, look up the population percentage of Germans. Look up the population percentage of German speakers. Um, this is real stuff. It's very interesting. By the way, in case the phone dies, you know, the whole thing. Like, share, subscribe. I mean, this video is full of information. And I haven't even gotten to everything I want to get to. But I think this is important that we get to this. You know, if you don't want to do those things, don't. But if you want to support the channel, if you like the information, uh, I'm not saying you probably don't like the information, but if you want to support and spread this information and, you know, help more people be aware of a lot of this information, you know, share this, like this. It helps it go up in the algorithm. And any donations to the channel, like Kelly Keeble, she actually, and that reminds me, Kelly Keeble, she actually it basically is responsible for single-handedly helping me with a laptop. And Drop had helped me before with a mic. And by the way, Drop, that was you, right? I didn't know. Last show, it was literally the next day, and I got the notification, but I didn't see it until the next day, and I got what you sent me. I don't know if you want me to say how much, you know, but you know, I was thinking of maybe putting that towards the camera. I mean, it won't be enough for the actual camera, but I would love to have one of those cameras where it's like, you come out like super clear. Um, Either that or something that isn't so expensive. But I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. But the next show will be dedicated to Kelly Kibo. That whatever the first show with the laptop is, and then the show after that, whatever I get with, because of Drops donation, I'll show it and everything, and that'll be dedicated to Drop. So thank you for that. Um, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you want to donate to my family, you can find links to Cash App and things like that where you can send it, or Venmo. You can find all those links in other videos or Super Chat. That would go to family. But PayPal, that's for the channel. And, But anyways, let's check it out. Nazis in Argentina. I just wanted to get all that out of the way in case it dies. So they're in these bunkers. Because they're trying to figure out how would,
There's not sufficient evidence that Hitler died in the bunker on April 30th, 1945. Could Adolf Hitler have gotten out of Berlin, and how did he do it? How did he enter Argentina? We're going to look at who can facilitate.
Now, it's not just Hitler. This is Bavarian Village in Argentina, YouTube. Hello, Dread Pill, I'm back. It looks like a bunch of you stayed around. Good. And I'm sure a bunch more will start filtering once I say I'm live again. And also, I love it, because on the playback, I always like to put a hat on. It's funny because, it goes from me, and then all of a sudden, it's like there's no break. It goes straight to this, from when it died to now. And it's like, what the hell? A hat just appeared on his head. So, yeah, the phone died. For those of you guys watching the playback, those of you here, you guys know that. That light's really. Okay, so for those of you who knew that, there were hundreds of thousands of Nazis and descendants of Nazis in Argentina. If you knew that, 100%, put 1. If that's news to you and blows your mind, put 2. And while you're at it, I just dropped something. You mind picking up that red pill? It's pretty interesting, right? Oh, and by the way, Kelly Kibo, I don't know if you're still here, but I'm sure you'll watch this tomorrow. Remember what we were talking about, the NSGA and all that? And certain person was at, NSGA Key West. Well, I was at the Pride of the Pacific, the NSGA Kania. That was my main duty station. I was actually direct support submarines there, but I ended up never actually going on a sub. I did shore duty there the whole time. But anyways, guys, here's that video. 1 and 2, kind of knew, but didn't know the extent. I gotcha. Yeah, phone died, but we're here back. We're here. All right. But yeah, that's some interesting stuff. Check this out, guys. Here's this Bavarian village.
Können Sie mir erklären, was im Film passiert?
Eine Begegnungsstätte, das bedeutet die Optikhaus. Das ist ein Ort der Gemeinschaft. Und da ist sogar auch ein Bürgerbüro der MPD, also mein eigenes Abgeordnetenbüro mit.
Und also einfach nur von außen, wenn man davor steht, sieht man dann
You just plug in this in so it doesn't die.
Das ist ein Werbeturm.
Ein Werbeturm.
Da ist auch immer ein Transparent auch von uns dran, von dem Bürgerbüro, was wir als zusätzliche Werbemöglichkeit benutzen. Und im Grunde
And these guys are pushing Nazi ideology.
Wo der Wachturm drin steht, spielen Kinder.
It's not just like German. When you go, they're very quiet about it. In this interview, he speaks about it, but they just kind of celebrate. Look at it. Do you think a happy Holocaust? They call it. They have a barbecue every year called Happy Holocaust. And this is in Argentina. There's like 50 of these communities. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people. That's not to say every single one, but it's said that the majority of them are very proud of their ancestors. And the ones, they're all dead now, but a bunch of high-ranking Nazis died of old age in Argentina and Chile. He's talking about. He's like faking. Like the answer is no. He has to like give this like fake no. And I'm not saying that they're like supporting genocide, but I definitely do think that they. By the way, I gotta like take little breaks. Oh, did you guys just see that? You guys caught it. It just said Happy Holocaust. We had that thing. I mean, it's unbelievable. It just blows my mind. We gotta take little breaks from it. I can't just like play it through like that. But yeah, I mean, this is really something else.
They're all going. It's gonna be fun, man. We're not going. We are staying exactly where we are. Just check, okay? But before that, we kick off 6 right here on NFL Network. And
hi, this is Michelle from Vice Brooklyn. Our German office found a man whose penis has been enlarged so much that it
YouTube, Bavarian, Argentina. YouTube, Bavarian, Argentina. How did it get American Idol? Last try, and then we're gonna move on. YouTube, Bavarian, Argentina. I just pull it up like this.
and it working. Michael Thomas at the gain of 18 yards. And then 5 plays later, it's
YouTube.
Looking for.
Anyways, all right. So I also wanted to talk about the impeachment, but I don't know. I might have to save that for another because that's a long discussion. I have a very interesting theory on the impeachment. I'll give you the short of it, and then I'll expand on it at another time. Man, the volume is way too. I don't like that. So, what I think, honestly, with the impeachment, I think, again, this is more evidence of Coup. I think that this is, especially if those Marine reservists are being called up to protect against a coup and to make sure the president's safe and to, thwart attacks and basically, carry out the agenda of the president. I also think, think about it. Somebody all of a sudden is a whistleblower, and what ends up coming out of that is this massive corruption by the Biden family in Ukraine. And, his son, Hunter Biden, the only surviving son, by the way, because his son, Beau, died in the military. And some people say that, it was friendly fire, let's just say that. That's a rumor I've heard, I guess. But what are the chances of that? That a lot of people look at it like that's his political opponent. Well, the way I look at it, it's like, no, that was the administration that, basically sold America up the river. And he was the vice president of that administration. And, there's video of him talking about it very in a candid way. And, where do you think he was talking about it? CFR, if you guys aren't familiar, the Council of Foreign Relations. It's like, it's straight up secret society style unbelievable, disgusting. This guy's talking Spanish, but he's about to start talking German, I guess. He's gonna show this German society there. It's really unbelievable. But anyways, yeah, so I think that there's something to this. And I think that, the president, it's almost like controlled opposition that he set up. And the Democrats basically took the bait. That first whistleblower has basically... Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome. All right, I think you guys get the idea on the Nazi stuff. Yeah, and I had to have a cigarette, because honestly, when I get this information out, I do all this research, and it's like, it just like stays in my head, and it like gives me anxiety. And then once I finally like get it out onto camera, it's like, I don't know, it's like sex. It's like I need a cigarette. But anyways, as far as the impeachment, so yeah, it's a rush, But as far as the impeachment, I honestly think it's more evidence of patriots in control. Lost me there for a sec. Patriots in control. I mean, think about it. Of all the things to whistleblow him on, it was this. And then it was like, they were almost like, gotcha. But then right away, he's like, oh yeah, got you, and releases the transcript. Turns out this guy, this whistleblower... Welcome to another edition of Borders on Budgets. On this episode, we're riding into the mountains for a Alright, so he's going into the mountains where these German villages are. So maybe at the end, once I'm done with this, we'll get back into that. But so I think that, this is all set up, controlled opposition by the president. He's always been a master of manipulating the media. And basically, he's just making the Democrats look really bad, because that first whistleblower turned out he didn't have first-hand knowledge like he claimed. He claimed that there was this quid pro quo, but there wasn't. So, he's already been kind of delegitimized. However, all of a sudden, the other day, like 2 days ago, or 3 days ago now, John Brennan put out a tweet saying, even though Obama treated whistleblowers like criminals, literally, Brennan all of a sudden is in support of whistleblowers and says, hey, any whistleblower out there who knows about this situation, please come out, this and that, right? Now, this is where I'm kind of reaching a little bit, but I think they might have Brennan by the balls, because he was obviously complicit in a lot of this. And although, I don't think that there would be deals, but maybe they just don't have enough on a CIA guy like that. He covered his tracks better than Comey and McCabe and them. And they basically struck a deal, and maybe that's why he's part of that. Maybe not. Maybe he's just still deep state through and through. And he put out this tweet saying for whistleblowers to come out specifically in that situation. Well, a second whistleblower came out, and this whistleblower supposedly has first-hand knowledge of the situation. Well, I'll tell you who I think it is. And it was actually a mod who put this on me. And once I thought it out, I totally agree with them. And you know who you are. Brilliant. Bolton. He has every reason to hate the president. He has every illusion for people to think he hates the president as well, whether it's A or B, authentic or setup, controlled opposition. So he has the illusion to hate the president, or he just hates the president. And who would actually have first-hand knowledge? Now, there's definitely like a couple cryptos who would have that. The translators would have first-hand knowledge. Couple heads of certain intelligence agencies would have first-hand knowledge. The vice president would have been listening in, because the vice president needs to know these things. And also, it's when the president speaks to another leader, It's such complicated situations. You're trying to get hostages. You're trying to, like we were talking about with the Sunni, the Shiite, the way that India came from the Western civilization. Pakistan kind of came from more like the Middle Eastern civilization. It's like it's also complicated. In order to actually thank you so much, Pink Carpet. I really appreciate that. Tomorrow before we go, I'll bring Amanda to lunch on that. Thank you. And I'll let her know. Someone from the channel Pink Carpet did that. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. Thank you. And so, but I'm sure you want to hear me talk about this instead. But thank you. Seriously, I appreciate it. So, I think that. So what was the last thing I was saying? So Bolton, it's a perfect idea. And how many people are there really that would have firsthand knowledge? Well, he would be one of them, right? At the time, he was the national security advisor, or director or whatever, and he would have that firsthand knowledge. He would be listening because it's a matter of national security, so it's in his wheelhouse. That's who I think the second whistleblower is. Now, is John Bolton, would I describe him as a patriot? I mean, I don't think so. But, if somebody's compromised, yeah, I really do appreciate it. But if somebody's compromised, sometimes that's just as useful as somebody who is, down for the cause. And so with this whole impeachment thing, something just seems fishy to me. It just seems too convenient. It's possible. It could just be that the president knew of this massive corruption, and 1.5 billion from China, and then Ukraine was actually investigating them, and you guys probably know this, but Biden bragged at the Council of Foreign Relations. I mean, literally, like, as deep state NWO secret society as you can get, like their biggest hero is like Dick Cheney. You know what I mean? Like, he's there and he talks so candid about, I told him you have 6 hours to fire that prosecutor. Now, he didn't say, it's because you're investigating my son, and, my son had billions on the line. But that Ukrainian prosecutor was fired. It turns out that the Democrats went to Ukraine to try to get information. The Ukrainians refused to cooperate with them. In fact, they told them, we have information to the contrary. We actually have information that it was the Dems who were talking to Russia. It was the Dems who were coming to us for information. Just like they're going to Ukraine right now for information. And Ukraine's not playing ball. Now, China, there's word that Dianne Feinstein, she is blackmailable when it comes to China. Let's just say that. And it's not just Dems. Like, John McCain, he was, I hate to say it, but he was really dirty. And, there was another subject I wanted to talk about too. I'll save it for another day. But it's about the confirmed UFO sighting that was above the water outside of San Diego. And I saw an interview with the commander. He's basically like a real-life maverick from Top Gun. Very fascinating man. But that'll be part of the next video, and I'm sure there'll be like 5 other things that I forgot. But anyway, so Biden's son, Hunter Biden, who actually is a straight-up drug addict, like heavy drugs, like not like takes pills for example. No, he smokes some weed. No, he's into heavy stuff. And he, China, they're very shrewd businessmen. They don't just give billions of dollars to a drug addict because of who his father is. Actually, that's the only reason they will, is because of who his father is, I should say. With his father being who he was, well, they knew that, when they're stealing intellectual property. And by the way, a lot of people, they say that, but they don't actually know what that means. It means it's like, they figure out how we do what we do, and then they reverse engineering. It's basically like they're not just like that's they're like the king of knockoffs. But when you take that to like a military grade level, it's reverse engineering, weapon systems and all these different things. That's why, we were told that if something ever went down and SHTF, like military style, with a top secret clearance, the first thing you do is you get rid of all of the information. We're talking shredder. We have like a checklist that we go down, like Black Hawk Down. That Black Hawk had all types of technology on it. Now they weren't exactly worried about the Somalians reverse engineering, but the Somalis could sell it to, let's say, Iran, and boom, now you're in trouble. Iran sells it to China or Russia, probably Russia back then, and boom, now they, some of our radar systems, things like that. Which, by the way, in that alien video, it's really deep into the radar systems, which I'm very well aware of, and I know exactly what he's talking about. And I'm telling you, this isn't something that could just happen. This thing appeared, it caused something to come up from the water, and then it disappeared and reappeared 60 miles away. It didn't like move, and also it was doing weird movements the whole time, movements that no aircraft can do. Disappeared, reappeared 60 miles away. Now, do I think that there's aliens? Yes and no. I think that what they really are fallen angels. So, but then again, I can't explain this video then. Is it fallen angels in an aircraft? No, I don't think that. I think it's either disinformation, although there's footage, and this guy is very believable, or it is another country. I guess it would have to be China, because Russia's more of a paper tiger than people realize. We like to create the boogeyman in this country, and they're not as powerful at all as people think. I mean, even China, when you compare their military to us, and especially now with what Trump has done to their military, how much he's weakened their economy. I mean, I wouldn't call them a paper tiger like I would Russia, but they don't come close to us. That's not to say that they're not a threat. Especially the whole thing that's scary is if they join up, when they team up. That's when things get scary. If we all of a sudden start going against, let's say, China, Russia, Iran, Turkey, Cuba, Argentina, something like that, right? And we've been America first, so our allies are limited to maybe Australia, UK. EU? No, don't think so. The EU already showed us their true colors when they were still. They ignored the sanctions on Iran, and they were buying all the oil from them. They were still trading with them. So I don't want to hear about the EU. And plus, the EU, they're all globalists. And people who live in that place, like for instance Italy, they've had so many people cross over from Syria and very poor African countries, and they've had to let them in, and they come in, and they have a totally different culture. They see a girl in a short skirt, and they think it's just okay to rape her. She's asking for it. I mean, that's just the culture. It's not, trying to talk bad about these people, but the way that they are, I mean, showing your whole head is provocative to a man, and they almost like feel justified in their, that like sexual urge, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, the people in the EU are not so fond of the EU. Any country that's had their weapons taken away, they'll tell you, we are envious of the United States. They would tell us, never let them take your Second Amendment. Never. And then they try to say, no, we're not going to take your guns. You just don't need weapons of war. Well, the whole point of the Second Amendment is to prevent tyranny. And how can you prevent tyranny with pistols when you're up against, these automatic rifles? You can't. So, I'm not saying that we have to have bombs, but as far as like firearms, we should have the same type of firearms that the government, and the soldiers, and the Marines, or the National Guardsmen, or whoever it may be. Now, do I think our military would actually fire on civilians? No. Not without very good reason. No, I really don't think that. But if they're given the order, they're supposed to. Although there is such a thing as you can say it was an unlawful order. Now, that's where you get into a little bit of a gray area, but that's neither here nor there. We're still talking about the impeachment. So that's my theory on the impeachment, by the way, guys, is that it's too convenient with this massive corruption. Not 1.5 million, 1.5 would it be billion dollars to his drug addicted only son. And he is on the board of this company, which, by the way, is like a energy company, an oil company, I believe. And guess who's the other two on the board? John Kerry's stepson, who we know who John Kerry's married to because he's totally deep state, all that. He's married to, Heinz. Well, yeah, that's his last name. So his stepson is on the board. And guess who's the third one? I'll give you a hint. His father and uncle had Boston literally by the balls. I mean, they dismantled the mafia, everything in Boston. And the mafia was huge in Boston, in Providence. And they dismantled them. They took them all so easy because they had the backing of the FBI. Who's that? Whitey Bulger. Whitey Bulger's nephew. And his less known brother, he was the president of UMass at one time, and then he had some political positions. He's always the president or the CEO of some kind of school or organization. Very powerful man. And his brother, he was a very powerful man as well, even more powerful. He just did it in a murderous, racketeering, gambling, prostitution type of way. But at the same time, you know what he did is he kept the drugs off the streets of Boston. He didn't let you sell drugs to kids. There was only certain areas where you could sell drugs. Now it's racist, but he would only let people sell drugs in the black neighborhoods. I mean, that's not okay. But what I do think is okay is just the idea of no matter what neighborhood you're in, you're not selling to kids. I respect that. And I think that once he died, once they got him, that left a huge kind of like power vacuum. And that ended up getting filled by, believe it or not, a lot of Spanish gangs that turned Massachusetts into one of the per person most drug addicted states there are. And it started with the OxyContin. I know that the whole country ended up having that problem, but it started in Massachusetts. West Virginia ended up getting it really bad in certain areas, in Kentucky. There's one town, it's crazy, some of the numbers per person. But where it started, they were robbing pharmacies, back in 96, robbing pharmacies and stuff like that. And it was all out of this one little area, Charlestown. They were known for robbing banks from there. It's a white, extremely poor neighborhood. And where I grew up was right on the border of Charlestown and Somerville. And I don't live there anymore, so I'm not doxing myself. In fact, where I live now, I've only been living for a little bit. So it doesn't matter though. I have nothing to hide. If everyone try to dox me, it's I actually plan on doing a video. It'll be I want to do a testimony and just kind of tell my story, because there's stuff that you guys wouldn't believe. I mean, it's stuff that I can't even believe sometimes when I think back. Just random occurrences. It's not like I got myself into all this. Just random occurrences, certain experiences. Interesting life so far, put it that way. Lucky to be alive. But yeah, so anyways, I want to close on that theory with the impeachment. That's what I think is going on. I think that patriots are in control. I think we're in the middle of the storm. I don't necessarily think that this Marine reservist thing that everyone's talking about is really much of anything. But if it's something, I'll tell you, it has to do exactly with that and preventing, which inevitably going to be, they got their backs against the wall and it's inevitably going to be a coup. By the way, some more like small pieces of evidence that stuff's getting exposed. Ed Buck. They're finding people dead in his house. He gets arrested. Years ago, he'd never get arrested. He'd get away with it. You call the guy, he's a fixer, he takes care of. No, not these days. And these deaths had already happened, and the guy survived. It's just back in the day, he wouldn't be listened to. Nowadays, he's listened to, and Patriots took control. He's in prison now. You see the whole thing with Epstein. I think that was made to wake people up. The only thing I can't figure out is, I mean, did the New York penal system, the prison, the penal organization screw up that bad? Where they had men understaffed to the point they were working 80 hours a week and sleeping on the job in a high value target PC area, meaning protective custody. I mean, it just seems too unbelievable. And I've always said, whatever happened 2 or 3 weeks prior is what happened when he actually died. If somebody tried to kill him, like that ex-cop they talk about who had a quadruple murder, and ended up, he became his cellie. And if you see a picture of this guy, he legit, like, if you put a picture up of like someone named Bubba that you don't want to be your cellmate, it's this guy. He looks like he's on every steroid in the world, and he's bald, and he's just huge, and he's a dirty cop that had a quadruple murder. So he's a high value, that's why he's there. There's like the shoe bomb is there, all these guys are there, along with Jeffrey Epstein. And they put probably one of those dangerous, as far as like, one-on-one fist fight type, the most dangerous. I mean, you just got to see this guy. Look him up. The cop from, I think it's New York, not New York City though, New York, New Jersey, and quadruple murder, and that ended up being a cellie. It's crazy. So whatever happened the first time is what happened the second time. So if he actually tried to kill himself, I still don't think he killed himself, but I think that somehow he was able to kill himself. I mean, what I meant to say was, I don't think he hung himself, but somehow he was able to kill himself, either with someone's help or, taking something, although they said that his neck was broken. So this, I think it was an assassin, and I think that they also tried to get him, but not with a professional assassin. I think it was actually maybe that cellie, that crooked cop. I think they probably offered him, they said, listen, you'll never be out of jail, but we'll give your family X amount of money, and it's probably some astronomical number. And he went to try to kill him, because they even said that, like, he was holding his chest and looked like he had just gotten beat up, rather than almost just kill himself. You don't get in the fetal position and look like you just got beat up if you're trying to kill yourself. If you're trying to kill yourself and you're serious, you're trying to kill yourself. You're not in the fetal position. So that part never made sense. So that's why I say, whatever happened the first time, meaning like generally, like, someone else trying to kill him or him trying to harm himself, is what happened the second time. Except I'll tell you one thing, it wasn't by hanging. Not the one that killed him. No way. I know that they took him off suicide watch, but listen, if me or you tried to go in there and kill ourselves, we couldn't. I'm telling you, you just can't. You can't. I had a brother who did a lot of time in jail, and I know all about it. And in Massachusetts, they put you in a thing called a turtle suit. There's no way he would have been able to do that. So, I think that he was taken out. I know a lot of people think that, he was extracted by the U.S. government, or better yet, Mossad, because I do believe he was a Mossad agent. He was kind of like a double agent. I mean, Israel and the U.S. do get along. Mossad slash CIA type of thing, but, Mossad as the primary, I would say. And his job was to get dirt on people, which he was pretty good at his job then. I mean, do you remember that list we went through? We went through every single flight log, all those documents. We didn't even get through like 10% of it. And we had names that nobody had gotten before. To this day, I'm very proud of that. Because there's a few names we got where it says unintelligible. And I can't find the name anywhere. But we got it. Because you can only make out a couple letters. But with your help, and I was closer, I could see, we were able to figure some of these names out. And it was like a who's who. It was unbelievable. But I think that's what they do. They take these people, they fulfill their wildest dreams, and they end up using this information against these people later. Just like when that guy slipped up and got a little bit too honest about what this abortion bill is really about in Virginia, all of a sudden, literally, like, the story broke the next day, and then the day after that, he has blackface photos come out. And then his lieutenant governor has a woman come out for a sex scandal. And then the third in line has, and it was Democrats and Republicans, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was governor, Democrat, lieutenant governor with the sex scandal, Democrat. The governor was a white Democrat. The lieutenant governor was a black Democrat, and he had a sex scandal that came out the same exact, like, couple day period as the governor. And then the third in line, I think it might be Attorney General or something like that of the state of Virginia. I might be wrong about the title, but I think that's what it is. He was a Republican, and that came out on him. A blackface on him came out. So it sounds like the cabal wasn't too happy with these people about being a little bit too honest, and they lost a lot of money. And we're talking that they're already getting like $500,000 per baby, and they could get even more if they can keep it alive longer. I know this is sick, but it's reality. I mean, this is our government. And of course, you know what his argument was too? After he described it in graphic detail, the person interviewing him literally acted like he didn't just say what he said. She was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. It's like, what? Did you just hear what he said? They keep it comfortable, and then they have a decision. And then he said, well, it has to be a viable. But what constitutes viable? And when you find out, it basically, it's almost like, well, you can only smoke marijuana if you live in a medical marijuana state if you have a medical reason. Well, you could use any reason. You have a bad knee, you have a bad back, you have PTSD, you have bipolar, you have depression, you have, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just stupid loopholes where you can come up with any reason. And it applies with that abortion bill as well. And what's crazy too is when you look up the Strong's Concordance to the number of the bill, it stands for to pierce or to kill. That's another thing that I've been looking at lately that I find fascinating. When you look up the Strong's Concordance to the like numbers of bills, or like certain numbers that it's just like you're reading a news story, and it's almost like they go out of their way to give this stat or this number, and it's like a 3 or 4 digit number. You look it up, it'll pertain to what they're talking about or what the ultimate agenda is. It's like it almost never fails. Either that, it's either that or you're just missing the point. Like in times where it doesn't apply, I end up finding that, oh wait, I had that all wrong. What was really going on was, blah, blah, blah. So, because it's true. I think in order for them, because this all comes down to Satanism. And I think that, well, I can't say I know. I mean, because I would be kind of ignorant to say I know. I hate people that say stuff like that, but I strongly believe that they, in order for their black magic and their soul cooking and all that crap to work, they there's almost like this spiritual rule that you have to put out what you are doing, and also you have to kind of have some symbolism, um, as almost like paying homage to your god, their gods. Well, I should go like that, Lucifer. All right. um, I don't even like saying Lucifer though, because someone taught me about it one time, and they taught me a couple of things. We'll just say, um, Satan, um, the lawless one. No, the lawless one's the Antichrist. But, anyways, so they almost have to do that symbolism, and it seems like it's this spiritual thing where, because of free will, it's like they have to let you know, and it's up to not us to know that symbolism. Like, I can't believe how many goats and owls I see in my daughter's Disney only cartoons. It's disturbing. Every episode, it's either a goat or an owl. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's real deal Holyfield, straight up. And not just that, you have pentagrams, but they're not really pentagrams. It'll be like a building, but if you actually overlay, they'll have a scene where they kind of stop in some crazy vehicle. When you overlay on the building, it's like a pentagram. I know it sounds nuts, but the more you educate yourself in this symbolism, you're going to start to see it everywhere. I see it all the time, especially things like Grammys and Emmys and Oscars. Oh, that stuff is littered with it. I mean, if you guys saw that Madonna, if you guys saw, I don't know if it was the Oscars, I think it was the Oscars. Madonna won the Lifetime Achievement Award, and she ended up doing this whole thing, and it was clearly satanic. It was not even a question. And also another video I'm gonna do soon, and this is a video that I've done before, but it was when I first started my channel, and I realized that I have so many subscribers that haven't even been exposed to this stuff. CERN, D-Wave, the Godhead Tunnel ceremony. If you guys want to kind of have a heads up on that stuff, look it up. Check out, for instance, CERN and D-Wave. That's a lot. White paper science that we'll have to talk about. Inside of a D-Wave machine is the coldest place in the galaxy, or they say in the universe, I think. Out of all of outer space, the coldest place, it's as close to absolute zero as you can possibly come. It's like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction above absolute zero Kelvin. So, what else? So the symbolism, it's very important. I think that they have to do it because of free will, and also as a way to kind of identify each other. And for those of us who are awake, which, it does say in the Bible, be innocent as a dove, or it says the other way around, it says, be wise as a serpent, but innocent as a dove. And that's what, I would love for my audience to be. Wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove. Because the deception is real. The lies, the propaganda, it's real. And that's why when I see two channels with so much power and so much influence doing the work of the it seems like they're exposing things, but it's just surface layer whatever, and I'm not even trying to talk trash. Like I said, I'm not going to make any attack videos anymore, except for one, and that'll be the last one, because hopefully that'll kind of, be the go-to when you want to know the truth on certain people. Um, messed up. Should have never talked about Amanda like that. Snaps, schnaps, schnapsy, snaps, peach snaps. But all right, I'm starting to get pissed. So all right, guys. So I hope you guys all have a great day. Thank you for stopping by here at the Red Pill News Dispensary. This is the Red Pill. I hope you guys learned something today, and you know, if you guys like what you hear, like, share, subscribe, all that. You don't have to do what you want, but if you appreciate the content, um, that's the way to get it into the algorithm and out to people. Although with some of the stuff I did today, this won't be a monetized video or anything. So the only way it's gonna get out to people is if you share it. And that's just the truth of it. I don't even know how much liking it is gonna help, because if it's not monetized, I don't think it matters how much it's liked as far as the algorithm. But if you share it, I mean, it's shared. I guess that's the only way it actually will spread. So, some of the content, some of the, showing you the video and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's probably the only way it's going to actually get out. I try to be honest, So sharing, I would say share the video. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you will. So, Red Pill News Dispensary. I am signing off, and like I said, there's videos coming up. We're gonna have one dedicated to Kelly Cable. We're gonna have one dedicated to Drop. I'm still not sure exactly Drop what avenue to take. If you have any ideas, let me know. And if the offer still stands as far as OBS, as soon as I have all the software down into the laptop, including OBS especially, that'd be great if we could go over it. Any tips you have? I mean, I'm pretty good at OBS, but I'm not a professional. You know 10 times more than I do. But yeah, so just wanted to extend that out there. It's morning now, so you guys have a good day. And I got some videos coming out that are gonna blow your mind in one way. And as far as truth, I want to do the D-Wave, in case you guys want to hear it again, D-Wave, and D-Wave with the quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and then CERN with the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, and then right by CERN they have the Goddard Tunnel, which actually has a whole history behind it, with this it's supposedly this cursed goat, just like when you think about Wrigley Field and how the Cubs supposedly got cursed by a goat. This cursed goat that cursed this mountainside. And what they did was they cut a hole into the mountainside, made a tunnel, and then they did a ceremony, and all of the presidents and prime ministers and leaders and CEOs of the world were there. And they legit put on 2 different shows, one indoors, one outdoors. And they are undeniable satanic rain dance type, sun worship dance or rain dance, but in a satanic way. They also do that dance at it's something to do with the rising of the phoenix. They also do it, it's the dance that they're doing in iPad Go 2. If you guys remember, he's going around the fire with the mask. Yeah, they do that dance, and they do that dance as well. They have videos at CERN doing that dance. They have footage of a mock sacrifice at CERN. But the most interesting of all, and this is because all the world leaders were there, and they legit had just look it up. As soon as I sign off, look it up. And it's spelled G-O-T, I believe it's 2 T's, H-A-R-D. But you'll find it. Just put Goddard Tunnel ceremony, and there's 2. There'll be one indoors, and there'll be one outdoors with a huge screen behind them. All right, and it goes through the outdoors one especially. It literally goes through Revelations. It shows the woman pregnant. It shows Satan on the camera. It shows all the lives dying who had died, who were actually sacrificed when they were building this tunnel. And they're all dressed like the workers. And then all of a sudden they're all dressed like demons. and they're running around doing crazy stuff. And there's one like man with a wig that's pregnant, and a Satan character comes out that's half goat, half man, impregnates her. That's how she gets pregnant. And then, there's flames, and he's laughing. It's legit. It's a satanic ceremony, and it's unbelievable when you see it. Don't believe me, see it for yourself. Everything I say, I don't just say it. It's backed up. It's all legit. Even hundreds of thousands of Nazis and Nazis that died of old age, that were high-ranking Nazis, and their descendants that lived on, are still proud of them, still have their war medals, and there's hundreds of thousands of them living in like 50 to 100 different communities in Argentina, and even worse are the ones in Chile. There's less, but they're even worse, because Chile, their government ran on a currency of basically using torture to get information. They use information as currency, and they would take dictators and legit torture them in ways that are unimaginable, that only a Nazi can do. And so they found use for those Nazis. And we're not so innocent either, because we had Operation Paperclip, and we went after the scientists. Russia went after Berlin. They got Berlin. Didn't have much to show for it. They thought they had Hitler's body. Turned out it was the body of a 35-year-old woman, which is the exact age that Eva Braun was, his girlfriend. So, hey, they might have grabbed the wrong body, and Hitler might have scooted out of there and ended up in Argentina. At least that's what this show is all about. And I find it fascinating, because to this day, they still don't know. They're like, okay, so if that's not his body, then where is his body? Because they did DNA genetic testing on it, and they found out that on the tooth, and it ended up being a 35-year-old woman. So it was Eva Braun, most likely. Or he was also down there with, I think, I don't want to say the wrong one, but the head of the Luftwaffe was down there, and his wife was a young wife as well. It could have been her. But to this day, the Russians can't exactly say where Hitler's body is. And the Americans, we went in and we took hundreds, if not like about 1,000, maybe even more, that's just known of, called Operation Paperclip, where we took the scientists, and they actually ended up starting up NASA. Werner von Braun, he started up NASA. They had somebody else be the face of NASA, but he was the one running it behind the scenes. They didn't want a Nazi as the face of it, because Nazis, a lot of times what they'll have like this nasty scar right here, because one thing that they would do, and that's how you know they're SS as well, because they would have this scar, and basically it's like they wear it like a badge of honor, and they would do these fencing fights. And the loser, you would cut the other guy's face open, and then they'd sew it closed with horsehair so that it looks like gnarly, you know what I mean? And they would have this scar forever. So you see these Nazi SS officers and things like that, they all have this gnarly scar. And it's like way worse than it would have been, because of the way they sew it closed with horsehair, the way we went over the Hitler Youth and how they held the city for those last days, and how unbelievable that was. The whole eugenics that they did, it's just disgusting, but unbelievable at the same time. And I do not glorify them at all. I mean, they got their asses kicked in the end, and we went after the minds, the greatest minds, and we forgave them for their Nazism. All right, that's what America did. And we said, come into our country, start up NASA, and that's how we made it to the moon first. And with that, Red Pill signing off. Red Pill News Dispensary. All right, guys, have a great night. Or morning now.